Congressman. Working with me are Tom Schreibel, Britt Shield, Lonnie Hagrup, and Matt Olson of my Brookfield District Office staff. The format of the meeting will be as follows. For the first part of the meeting, I'd like to hear your questions and comments on issues of general concern. Should you wish to speak during this part of the meeting, please fill out one of these hearing slips and check off the speaking box. And what I will do is I will say who is speaking immediately, and then I will have somebody who is on deck called out by name, and somebody who will follow the on-deck hitter to be called out by name, so everybody knows in what order people will be recognized. The meeting will go on until 2:30, or when everybody who has signed up to speak has had a chance. At that time, that meeting will be adjourned. I have also usually have time for individual problems with government agencies. Because of the crowds that I've been experiencing, we will ask that anybody with a problem with a government agency either contact my office in Brookfield with your problem, and the phone numbers are in the pamphlets on the table in the hallway. And in case of a state agency, either contact Senator Darling's office or Representative Pash's office at the state capitol in Madison. I have invited both state legislators. Neither of them can come today. Representative Pash is having her own town meeting someplace else in the North Shore, and Senator Darling has a previous commitment. So those of you that want to talk about state issues I guess I'm going to have to find out where the state legislators will be after this meeting. So again, please let me know by filling out the hearing slip whether you want to speak. I would also reiterate the rules of the Village of Whitefish Bay. Signs are allowed in the village boardroom, that there can be no sticks on the signs, and furthermore, the signs cannot be waved in a manner that obstructs the view of people who may be sitting behind you. So, with all of the preliminaries done, first up is John Radke on Shore Drive in the Bay. Next up is Mr. Porter of Rosedale and Brookfield. And after Mr. Porter, Jeff Perzan of Lake Drive in the Bay. So, Mr. Radke.
I have a two-part question related to the deficits that we're looking at federally. And I've noticed that China has been gradually reducing their investment in treasuries since 2009. And I've noticed recently that it's been reported that China and Russia and France and the Arab countries have been negotiating a possible alternate reserve currency for the world. And my question is, first part of the question is, if other countries are refusing to purchase our treasuries, how are we going to finance the deficit for the next year? And the second question is, can you give us some idea of what the effect of the world going off of the dollar as being our reserve currency for the world and switching to something else? Thank you.
Well, the answer to both of those questions as a result is real bad news for America and for its people. First of all, the deficit is ballooned out of control. The President submitted a budget last month, which is the third budget he's submitted where the deficit is over $1 trillion. Now, by contrast, the deficit for fiscal year 2007 was $170 billion. Discretionary spending, which is spending that is not entitlement but appropriated by Congress, went up 84% in the last 2 years. And obviously, if we cannot finance the deficit through more borrowing, the other alternative is for the Treasury to print up more money, which will debase the value of the currency and bring about really bad inflation. And really bad means worse than the inflation that we had at the end of the 70s. What all this means is that Congress has got to get the deficit under control, and this is a matter of real urgency. And the reason it's a matter of real urgency is that the $14 trillion debt that we have is equal to 100% of gross domestic product. The Greek economy fell apart when their sovereign debt got to 115% of GDP. And that means we're very, very close to the tipping point, and we've got to act on this. Now, what you've been seeing going on in Washington this far are kind of the preliminaries, because the last Congress passed neither a budget nor any of the 11 appropriation bills that are necessary to fund the government. And as a result, we have been having a series of continuing resolutions and are basically dealing with the unfinished business that was done because the last Congress kicked the can down the road. Sometime in the next 4 weeks, the House Budget Committee, headed by Congressman Ryan of Janesville, will pass out a budget resolution for next year's budget, and you will see some pretty significant cuts in government spending, including entitlement programs as that recommendation. The biggest entitlement programs, of course, are Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and Congressman Ryan and others have been very plain in saying that the changes in programs like this, particularly Social Security, will not impact people age 65 or older, but will impact people who are under the age of 55. So I guess that's about where we're at and what's going to happen in the short term. The Republicans, of course, control the House. The Democrats